1 UConn. Let's send you off to Dick Enberg and Jay Billis.
And welcome to Philadelphia, Wachovia Center. This is the West Region second round. The Aggies, Texas A&M from the Big 12, and the Connecticut Huskies from the Big East. And here is the West Region bracket. They'll advance to Glendale, Arizona, the Sweet 16. And it's UConn, Texas A&M will meet the winner of Purdue and Washington later. And much concern this week about Jim Calhoun. He was hospitalized on Thursday. He was not here for the opening game, won handily by the Huskies. And Mark Turgeon, who has done a super job at A&M in his second year, 49 wins. That's the most ever by a Big 12 coach in their first 2 years. And here are the starting lineups for A&M: Sloan, Rowland, and leading scorer Josh Carter. A three-guard offense, and on the back line, 6'9" Brian Davis had a great game against BYU, one of his best in his career. And Junior Elano at 6'10", he's the defender and shot blocker for Connecticut. A.J. Price and Craig Austrie, two seniors in the backcourt. And up front, and they're as strong there as any team in the nation, with Adrian and Robinson at forward, and 7'3" shot blocking Hashim Thabit in the middle. Today's game brought to you in HD TV by Harris Corporation, the world leader in broadcast systems for high-definition television and mobile media. Bob Donato, Joseph Lindsay, Patrick Evans are the officials. 800-plus wins for Calhoun, 2 national titles, Hall of Famer, and good to see him back on the bench. And he said it was dehydration. He just didn't feel well, so they hospitalized him on Thursday. And in white, UConn will get the first opportunity. Actually, it's a beige uniform.
Texas A&M going man-to-man.
And off Adrian, and Jeff Adrian able to hit the short bank.
Ever since Jerome Dyson, their slashing guard, went down with an injury several games ago, this UConn team has been more focused to get the ball inside. They want to play inside out.
Thabit already with a block. He had 144 in the season. Davis inside, and there's number 2, and this time it's Adrian with a block and a save by Thabit. The long pop from outside, and it's a quick start as Craig Austrie hits the 3. No, it's a 2. They're going to rule it. 4-0 Connecticut.
Well, Connecticut getting the ball up the court quickly on the pass ahead. This team playing with a lot of confidence after their first round win against Chattanooga.
Trying to take it inside. Delano runs into Thabit and then bounces it out of bounds. Well, they're trying to challenge Hashim Thabit, but it hasn't worked thus far. Rejection is the theme of Hashim Thabit. Thanks, Greg. 27 in a row. The aim for the Memphis Tigers, and a sizable lead here. UConn with an early 4-0 lead and a quick timeout by A&M coach Mark Turgeon. Why?
Well, he wanted his team to run better offense. They need to move Hashim Thabit around on the floor more. You can't just let him set up camp underneath and then attack him when he's stationary under the basket.
Adrian drills the 12-footer, and it's a quick 6-0 start for UConn.
Just a simple little play, run out ball screen, roll to the basket, and then the other big releases up. You're worried about the roll, and the big guy releasing up is wide open.
Donald Sloan, and Autry defended him. That was, oh my, that was an elbow flying as Jeff Adrian pulled down the rebound. A.J. Price has it stripped for a moment, regains control.
A.J. Price coming off that knee injury last year. A little bit of a different player. Last year more of a driver, penetrator. This year much more of a perimeter shooter.
Leading scorer, A.J. Price. He sets up Stanley Robinson, and the Huskies growling 8-0 early.
Really nice cut along the baseline by Stanley Robinson.
4 for 4 shooting to start the game for Connecticut. This is the top scorer for A&M, Carter. Fall away, and it's short. Price the other way.
Having Thabit there really allows defenders for UConn to press up on their matchup because they're not worried about him going around him, because Thabit is there to block or change shots.
2.5 minutes in, the Aggies seeking their first points. Rolling into the lane, doesn't get the drop, and whistle underneath, and that's going to go against A&M.
Connecticut on the baseline drive. Stanley Robinson just cuts along the baseline. He was on the opposite wing. And Josh Carter not doing a very good job of moving as the ball moves, seeing man and ball. Just got beat to the spot.
Brian Davis ticketed for a push underneath for A&M. The foul. 8-0 UConn lead. Oh my! Wide open is Adrian for the flush. He's averaging 13.5, and it's a 10-0 start for UConn.
A little misdirection. The ball screened, and then setting a screen along the baseline for Austria as he was coming off. He was in the low stack on the opposite side, and oftentimes, Dick, it's going to be the screener that's open in that kind of action, and that's exactly what happened to Texas A&M there.
Carter for 3, and it's not there. Well, it was A&M who started with making every shot against BYU 8 in a row on Thursday, and it's UConn finally missing their first attempt.
That was not a good shot by Craig Oster. He knows better than that. That was an opportunity lost for UConn.
Splitting the defenders is Rowland, and finally the Aggies on the board. Derek Rowland, the junior from Dallas. 4 of the 5 starters for this Texas A&M team are from Dallas, and Ilano from Houston.
Well, Dick, it's amazing when you take a bad shot on one end, how often you give up an easy one right on the other end, and that's exactly what happened to UConn.
Price maneuvers for a 12-footer, and Davis rebounds. Sloan hurries it into the offensive end and runs into Thabit and scores.
Well, Sloan went right into his body on that initial penetration and then just quick shotted him on the offensive rebound. That was very nicely done by Donald Sloan, and gutsy as well.
He's only 6'3", a full foot shorter than Thabit. Aggie fans behind us have a chance to cheer, and a steal by Davis. Rowland, a little out of control. Austria the other way for UConn. Robinson, a 3. Adrian sets up Austria, and then Adrian, boy, he's been deadly in that 15-foot range.
Well, that's his area. When he gets the ball down on the low block, he can go to work, but right around the free throw line, that's where he can drill a face-up jumper, especially when they play against zone. Having Jeff Adrian up in that area, he can make some plays, pretty good passer, and keeps his poise.
23-year-old senior from Brookline, Mass. Carter can't get the bounce. And that's going to be against Ilano. The foul, his first. Jeff Adrian hitting outside, and when comfortable inside, down it goes. It's interesting. It's the M&Ms, Marquette, Missouri, M&Ms, Maryland, and Memphis playing to go to the West region in Glendale, Arizona, and the Sweet 16. How quickly we've gone from 64, and by weekend's finish tomorrow, 16 precious teams with their dreams still very much alive for a national title, and certainly one of the favorites, the team in light gray that we're watching here, University of Connecticut, off to an 8-point lead, 5.5 into the game.
Clock set for UConn. They want to get the ball inside, and Thabit is getting manhandled in there by Brian Davis.
And a 3-second call against Thabit. Don't see that often these days.
Yeah, Davis really fought it. And they tried to get around in front of him, force him to lob it up to Thabit, which they do fairly often.
Losing only 4 times this year, Jim Calhoun's Huskies. And it's often when Thabit gets in early foul trouble. David LeBeau, number 10, in for the first time for Texas A&M. And there's Carter's first basket. Josh Carter averaging 14 a game, the leading scorer for the Aggies.
Well, that was a pretty cut. And a nice job by Davis to find the cover by looking over his inside shoulder.
A.J. Price unable to score. Rebound by Robinson and a foul. And we remind you, coming up on AT&T at the half, Greg, and Seth will take you out for a live look at all the action coming in the NCAA tournament today, and they'll get you caught up on all the latest tournament news. That's all coming up on AT&T at the half. Josh Carter with his first foul. Stanley Robinson with his 3rd point.
One of the reasons that UConn has been so good here in the NCAA tournament in the early going here against Texas A&M in their first game against Chattanooga has been the inspired play of Stanley Robinson. And he's been terrific. He had 28 points, 14 rebounds in that 6 overtime game against Syracuse in the Big East Championship, and then responded in the first round with 24 points and 7 rebounds against Chattanooga.
You saw number 33 Gavin Edwards come in. He's a 6'9" junior from Gilbert, Arizona, trying to go back near home in the regionals, giving Jeff Adrian a blow. This is B.J. Holmes. He's an excellent outside shooter. Carter circling his way and then back outside.
And Thabit discouraged that shot. LeBeau had it, but he wouldn't take it.
LeBeau fires from 10 and has his first hoop.
I think that's what Texas A&M needs to start doing, and that's have Thabit's matchup play a little bit more away from the basket, play in the high post, or go out and set ball screens, make Thabit move around on the floor.
Kemba Walker in the game for the first time. Inside is Robinson. Not there and out of bounds to A&M. Mark Turgeon battling on the sidelines. The 44-year-old ex-captain of the Kansas Jayhawks. Played under Larry Brown. Graduated in '87.
He played on a heck of a team in 1986. Kansas went to the Final Four, won 35 games that year. Danny Manning was just a sophomore. Ron Kellogg, Calvin Thompson, Archie Marshall, Greg Dreiling. That was a heck of a basketball team.
The turnover, that one through the hands of LeBeau. Bad pass.
Turgeon has done a great job at Texas A&M. You mentioned, Dick, that he's won 49 games the last 2 seasons. He took over for Billy Gillespie when Gillespie left Texas A&M to go to Kentucky. Not an easy task to take over a team after a coach like Gillespie has left, and I think Turgeon's done a remarkable job in his time. Did a great job at Wichita State. I think he's one of the rising young stars in the coaching profession.
Almost a steal by Holmes. 6-point game. Connecticut in the lead, and here's A&M's success. They barely ever in the history of the school basketball program went to the tournament, and they've gone 4 consecutive years with Gillespie and Turgeon calling the shots.
Josh Carter, the senior. I mean, he'll be the first player in Texas A&M history to go to 4 straight NCAA tournaments. Remarkable.
Foul in the paint on Junior Elano, and that's his second. Brian Davis is on the bench now getting a breather. The other big man for A&M, and in for the first time is Nathan Walkup. He's a 6'7" sophomore from Houston as Elano sits down.
And with Elano sitting down, Texas A&M all of a sudden has gotten small-waisted in the post. UConn has to go inside. Something they do anyway, but they've got to be even more resolute to punch that ball into the post and let their big guys go to work.
Kemba Walker, a freshman from the Bronx, New York. This is Walker. On the run is Walker, and he draws the foul from Dash Harris, the freshman from Los Angeles, number 5 in the Aggie uniform.
Well, Dash Harris, as his name would imply, has some really good speed. I'm not sure he's as fast as Kemba Walker is. Kemba Walker has amazing speed, especially with the ball in his hands.
Inside to Adrian. That's going to be a travel against Jeff Adrian. Fans back behind us for Texas A&M pointing to the scoreboard and screaming, hey, look at the fouls. 5 on us, none on them.
And then the referees look back and say, well, then tell your guys to stop fouling.
It's a pretty simple formula, isn't it? I think you've heard all of those as a player and coach. LeBeau trying to get inside. Adrian bats it away. Walk up outside, tries the 3. LeBeau almost with the offensive rebound.
Did a nice job of pursuing it. He really moved his feet well, didn't surrender to the block out.
A.J. Price and Hashim Thabit, the 2 starters, return for UConn. Edwards takes the seat along with Kemba Walker.
And with Price back in, now the 3-point shooting element of this UConn team back in. They really only have one guy that you really have to get all over shooting threes, and that's A.J. Price. Craig Austrie can hit him, but Price is the guy that can really bury it. 2-3 zone now for Texas A&M.
High pass. Brooks to Robinson. He converts.
He didn't get the initial lob. He got bumped. But is there anywhere inside the lane from which he can't dunk the ball?
6 points for Robinson, the junior from Birmingham. Another 3-point miss, and that's going to go against Connecticut. It appeared to be Stanley Robinson with a reach-in. No, it was Autry. Autry has the foul. Robinson maneuvering for the easy two. Heard the news that that's where they were stationed, in that when they won the 2 national titles in '99 and '04, they came out of the West. 5-year cycle, '99, '04, '09, we'll see. Blocked from behind as LeBeau tried to get off the jumper. Kemba Walker returns for UConn, and Robinson a seat.
With Hasheem Thabeet into the game, UConn's perimeter defenders can take some chances. They're not the type to get steals, but they can really be aggressive, putting pressure on the ball, taking away a shot.
Rowland takes it in tough and can't get it to go down. Davis fights for the rebound, and Walkup throws it out. And it's out of bounds to Connecticut. And Thabeet might have gotten a piece of anatomy around his mouth. The Boilermakers and the Huskies, the Washington Huskies. You got Connecticut on the east and Washington in the west. We'll meet the winner of this game, Thabeet. Easy two.
Boy, just a great pass to the high post. That pass to the high post provided the angle from which to feed the post. So that pass, this should be hockey, where you give the pass that leads to an assist should be an assist as well. That was a great pass to the high post.
And Thabeet has his first bucket of the game on this setup.
Watch Thabeet getting right behind. Great pass into the high post, and that allows Thabeet to seal Brian Davis on the top end. Watch this. Davis gets over the top of him. He just moves him up the lane. The pass comes from Jeff Adrian. Not enough pressure on the ball. Just able to dump it down. That's good basketball. Really good high-low offense by UConn.
As an old coach, you'd like this statistic: 8 field goals, 8 assists.
That's really great offense that they're running. And of course, they're making their shots. They've taken just one bad one. Craig Austry took that bad shot in transition, gave up an easy one the other way.
Rowland trying to set up Davis inside, but Thabeet there to back it. Batted out of bounds. Jim Calhoun. Yeah, is he on that 5-year cycle? And he likes it in the West. 802 career wins, this Hall of Famer. 2005 inducted. Carter. Well short.
Carter's got to play well for Texas A&M to have a chance to beat the #1 seed here today. And such a steady player over the course of his career.
He's our seeded 9th, and a foul against Texas A&M. Walkup has his first.
Last year, Texas A&M had the exact same seed, seeded 9th, played BYU in the first round in Anaheim, and then played the #1 seed in the second round, UCLA. Now, they held UCLA to just 51 points in that game and still lost by a deuce.
Yeah, they've lost 3 heartbreakers in the last 3 years of the tournament, all right down to the final seconds. Kemba Walker setting up Thabeet, and he's fouled on the reach-in, and Turgeon didn't like that at all. CBSSports.com is your destination for up-to-the-minute NCAA tournament coverage, real-time scoring, expert analysis, and video highlights from every game at CBSSports.com. Well, Turgeon unhappy the way this game is being officiated, and he's even less pleased now. He's just had to digest a technical foul, and it isn't going down well. At the line is A.J. Price. Anthony Jordan Price has his first point. And an 11-point lead. Turgeon still barking at the officials.
Well, it seems like after you get a technical foul, you get a little more leeway to get your point across.
The count is 8 against Turgeon's Aggies, and only 1 foul whistled against Connecticut.
And that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot of fouls, but it's not unusual for UConn. No team in America fouls less than the Connecticut Huskies.
How do you figure that? How do you coach not to foul when you're this big and physical and in a tough league?
Because you've got a 7-3 shot blocker that serves as a big eraser to the 4 pencils that you have defending out on the perimeter. And you can tell your guys, listen, you do not have to put your hands out. Move your feet. If your guy gets behind you, the beat is there.
Yeah, that's a great point. You play the best defense you can. If your man gets away from you, you know you've got still an even chance that the shot's going to be swatted away.
And this is not a team that gambles a lot. Doesn't take a lot of chances for steals. They'd rather challenge a shot, make you take a really tough one, and then you only have one shot.
LeBeau takes it to the iron and is fouled.
See, LeBeau felt the presence of Thabit. He turned around, didn't survey where he was. He's wide open. Look, he's wide open. Got away with a little shuffle, look like, but absolutely wide open. If he makes a quick move, he's got a dunk. Look how much space there is. You can't be more open than that.
Adrian picks up the foul, his first. And looking for his third point now, David LeBeau from Miami. He's a freshman. In comes Gavin Edwards, 6'9" junior. His dad, Earl Edwards, was an NFL defensive lineman with the Niners, Buffalo, Cleveland, Green Bay. He's built like a lineman, 6'9" and 240.
1-2-1-1 pressure broken easily by UConn. A.J. Price serving as a traffic cop out top, telling everybody relax, let's get into it.
And then Price fires the three. Oh, down the bottom of the well, and a big lead for UConn, 25-9. They must have been watching how Villanova jumped out to that huge lead early against UCLA on their way to a 20-point win.
You can't leave the ball, and A.J. Price, an outstanding shooter. But he's got to knock down perimeter shots for UConn to win the national championship. Without Jerome Dyson, that puts even more pressure on A.J. Price to hit shots.
And Dyson in his suit, civilian suit, on the bench today. Davis and a whistle. It looked as if Thabit might have got a hand on the shooter.
Just coming off the ball screen up top, set by Gavin Edwards. LeBeau steps in, but Josh Carter just got caught up like he was wearing a Velcro suit. And he got stuck to Gavin Edwards there. You need to come off that ball screen, fight through it a lot harder than that.
Thabit picked up the foul. Davis misses the free throw. Scored 21 against BYU, his career high. And there's young Jerome Dyson, the junior from Potomac, Maryland. Knee injury mid-season against Syracuse. He was averaging over 13 a game. Now can only contribute to his team as an active cheerleader.
And still, after missing all of those games, he's still the leader of this team in steals. Nobody's been able to pass him up. And that's what they're missing. They're missing that extra defender, that scorer.
Edwards had it swatted away, but stays with Connecticut. 20 on the shot clock. Huskies finishing just behind Louisville in the Big East regular season, and Edwards goes inside, and B.J. Holmes reaches in on the foul.
Boy, what a pass by Stanley Robinson. That was a terrific job of feeding the post. He passed away from the defense. Texas A&M in the post sold out just a little bit. Watch how Brian Davis jumps out. I mean, that's a sellout. You got to stay behind. But intelligently, Stanley Robinson passed away from the defense rather than just passing to the offensive man.
Edwards' first point. NCAA March Madness on demand. Streaming every game from the NCAA Championship online for free. Watch any game from the tournament live at ncaa.com. Connecticut building its lead, 26-9, now 27-9 on 2 free throws from Gavin Edwards.
Gavin Edwards really adds some quality depth up front for this UConn team. Nice ball screen and slip.
And Brian Davis fires home his first bucket. At the other end, what a block by Davis. And a foul.
Well, UConn got the ball up quickly after that made field goal. This team will run not just on a miss or a steal or turnover. They'll run after a made field goal. They run a nice secondary break with a number of different options, and their big guys run the floor.
Derek Rowland with a foul, and that's 10 team fouls, so the double bonus to Connecticut in the final 8 minutes and 7 seconds of this first half. Edwards 3 for 3 from the line. Davis goes out, playing with 2 fouls. point advantage for UConn, and now Thabit back in and Edwards out. He contributed 4 points from the charity. Gets a little pat from Calhoun. That's like high praise.
UConn has been very efficient on the offensive end. That's not been really a strength of theirs this season. They've been dominant defensively, but they've not been a great offensive team.
Little Holmes takes it into the hoop, and Thabit or no Thabit, he's able to score.
I think Jim Calhoun's going to let Thabit hear about that a little bit later on, saying, Hosh, calls him Hosh. Hosh, you're 7'3", 5'11" guy drives on you. That's one you should block.
Good defense by the Aggies, and it's rolling the other way. Banks it up and won't fall. Ooh, Jeff Adrian, he throws those elbows, doesn't he?
He wants to send a message. If you're going to come in here, you better have a good dental plan.
Here comes Texas A&M. Sloan. And there's going to be a whistle and a foul on the play. But again, so intimidating, that interior defense led by Hashim Thabit. And a perfect 10 for 10 from the line to open a sizable lead over Texas A&M. So now we're about to get to the Sweet 16s tomorrow night. Observing what we've seen so far, anything got your eye different, surprised?
I wouldn't say I'm surprised. I've been very impressed. One, with how hard these teams have played. I mean, you have got to lace them up and be ready for a fight when you step on the floor, especially once you get past the first round. But the games that we saw last night, Siena with the double overtime win over Ohio State, that shouldn't have come as a surprise to anyone.
Cleveland State?
Cleveland State, maybe a little bit of a surprise with the margin. I mean, they get off to such a good start. I think, what were they up 29-17 to start the game? I mean, that was an amazing start by that team, really throwing back Wake Forest on its heels. But Wake Forest really finished the season poorly. I mean, after the last 13 games, I think they were 7-6. So a young team that really limped in to the finish line.
Donald Sloan looking for his 4th point. The Aggie veteran from Dallas. And the lead to 14 for UConn.
Much like Texas A&M's season has gone, this is a team that has really had to fight to make it into the NCAA tournament field. They started off 1-4 in Big 12 play. They were also 3-7, and Mark Turgeon said, we were dead and buried, but these kids wouldn't give up.
Won 6 in a row at the end of the regular season. A.J. Price, and a foul for the charge. Yes, against Connecticut. Price going too deep.
Great hesitation move off the ball screen by A.J. Price, and the lane was wide open. Got beyond Sloan, and Dash Harris comes in. It's Ilanu up top, Harris down low, as it should be. Harris just jumps right in front, takes that charge. And Ilanu making sure if they didn't get the call that Price was not going to get a basket.
For A&M, once again, if they're going to be able to challenge, they're going to have to hit some of these threes. But so far, they've not been able to drop the tray. 0 for 5.
I think Texas A&M is going to have to continue to set ball screens, try to move Hashim Thabit around. Craig Austrie took one right in the chops. A little slow to get up. There's no blood. It's not a Big East caliber game, is it?
Kemba Walker will give Austria a chance to recover. Six and a half to go in this opening half. Second round action from Philadelphia. Earlier, very impressive with Villanova dismissing UCLA by 20. Ilanu with a soft foul, but it counts big. 3 on him. And so he has to go to the sidelines.
That's a huge play. It's just Ilanu not being ready. Just a simple little ball screen, duck in on the opposite side. The duck in by Hashim Thabit. That means you got to play him in the middle of the lane and up the line a little bit. And he did not do that. Allowed Thabit just to jump in front and got called for the armbar push in the back.
He's staying in the game with 3. He's their leading rebounder on the season and leading shot blocker and shooting 66.8%. But now he's replaced by Brian Davis. UConn 12 for 12 from the free throw line.
They always have a free throw advantage in large measure because they just don't foul very much.
Sloan with a drive. Thabit with a block. And the whistle, and apparently Thabit called with the body on that one. That's his second.
Here's the ball screen I'm talking about. Brian Davis goes up and sets a flat ball screen up above the top of the key. That brings Thabit all the way out, and he's got to cover all that ground going back. Now, if he is able to cover that much ground and was able to block that shot, you got to look back to Brian Davis on the roll or a little pick and pop. He can get a little free throw line jumper. And that's the way you get Hasheem Thabit out of the game. You got to move him around, involve him in ball screen action where he's more prone to foul. If you just let him stand under the basket, he's just going to block and change shots all game long.
Jim Calhoun takes Thabit out with 2 fouls. Dash Harris has his first point of the game. The young man from Los Angeles, California.
Now Texas A&M has more of a fair fight. Even though UConn still has size, now they can go inside a little bit easier.
Adrian, boy, what a touch. That ball landed just like dead on the heel and then rolled home. 10 points for Robinson, or for Jeff Adrian. He leads Connecticut. Sloan back outside. Harris for 3.
See, that's not a drive that Texas A&M was making when Hasheem Thabit was in there. Now all of a sudden they've got some life. They're still down 13, but they feel like they've got some momentum, and now they can play some ball.
That's their first tray of the game. Aggie fans with a chance to cheer. Wide open is Adrian, and that's his shot.
That's just too easy. You know, Mark Turgeon and his staff went over that play. It's a ball screen slip followed by a second ball screen and a pop.
Adrian 6 for 7 for his 12 points. Less than 5 minutes to go in this opening half in Philadelphia. The West Region winner on to Glendale, Arizona, the Sweet 16. Against either Purdue or Washington. Shot by B.J. Holmes. Beautiful block by Davis, but right to Edwards, who lays it home. 6 points for him.
Amazing how often that a bad shot leads to such an easy one on the other side of the floor.
Sloan pops and hits. David Sloan, Donald Sloan with his 6th point.
Sloan's so good coming off the ball screens.
That's going to be a blocking call against the Aggies on Davis, and that's 2 on him.
Well, Jeff Adrian has really worked hard on his face-up jump shot. He's only about 6'6", but he's got long arms. He's played most of his career inside. And I guess you would call that the shooter's role. And then off the little second ball screen, pick and pop action, just knocking that thing down. That's about his range, about 16 feet. And he has had just a terrific career. What a workhorse he's been. 46 double-doubles in his career. Well on his way to 47 if he can get on the glass a little bit harder.
He's got 5 rebounds in this first half. Multiple substitutions for Texas A&M as UConn boosts its lead to 16, 38-22. Led by this man, Jeff Adrian, all Big East first team. Averaged 13.5, and this is for 14 in the first half today.
Impressed with how efficient UConn's offense has been in this NCAA tournament. And they weren't quite as efficient in the Big East Championship in that one game that turned into 2 games, Syracuse, but they've been very efficient in this tournament.
All the way by Rowland, not there, and there's rebound number 6 for Adrian. A.J. Price stops and pops and has 3 more for UConn.
Anytime you let him bounce into a shot like he did there very comfortably, he's going to make it.
Ball gets away from Dash Harris, and here comes UConn. Price to score 2 more. 5 points for Price in about 10 seconds. He has 10 in the game. And Mama Price, Inga, that's my boy right there. How about him? 22 points for A&M, but 43 now for UConn, the #1 seeds. Wolves have advanced for the first time in 7 years.
And Florida Florida State taking it on the chin from Wisconsin. What a great play to end that overtime. Trayvon Hughes, that had not had a great game for him. Yet Bo Ryan called his number at the end of the game, was able to get in the lane and finish that play. It was magnificent.
What a shot. Arizona's the third number 12 to advance. Quickly the ball down forward, and feeling it is A.J. Price. What a hot hand for him. He has 7 points in the last minute and a half, 13 on the game.
He shoots with such great rhythm. He wasn't known as a great shooter coming out of high school. More of an explosive penetrator. But his game has really evolved. I'm not sure there's been a player in America in his 4 years that's been through more than A.J. Price has been through.
Davis setting up LeBeau for a basket. After a scramble along the baseline, LeBeau with 5.
Trapping him with that ball screen in transition.
And a travel called on Price. But for Connecticut, the price has been right in this opening half. Look at that lead.
15 points and 7 assists in this ball game, having scored Connecticut's last 8 points, and he's gotten them in some different ways. Just stepping into a 3, coming off a ball screen in transition, and then spotting up in transition. When he gets a clean look at the basket, he is an outstanding three-point shooter. 79 made threes on the year. And really, Dick, there's nobody else for this UConn team that can consistently knock down three-point shots. That might be a little bit of an issue as we get further in the tournament.
And meanwhile, Josh Carter with the ball now is 1 for 6. They've defended him tenaciously, and he just hasn't gotten any good looks at the bucket.
You know, Stanley Robinson guarding him. Robinson's very athletic, very long arm.
Down to the 2-minute mark, and Carter from way outside with a bomb. Finally.
Must have heard us talking about him. He's had a great year.
Great career, in fact, for Carter.
Coming into this game, he had hit 22 of his last 38 three-point shots.
1:45 to go. UConn with the ball and a 19-point lead. Huskies playing up to that number 1 seed, and Adrian, he's automatic from there.
Dick, UConn's got 48 points in this first half. Last year at this time, playing a number 1 seed out in Anaheim, Texas A&M gave up 51 points to UCLA in the whole game. They're about to give up half 100 to UConn in the first half.
Davis follows his own shot and taps it home. That was a 51-49 heartbreaker, lost by the Aggies to UCLA in Anaheim.
Trapping off the ball screen again. That was perfect.
Edwards for 3, and there you have it. 51 in the first half today. 51 the entire game a year ago.
Boy, that was just perfect execution. You get jumped by the double team off the ball screen. Got it to Gavin Edwards, who immediately looked opposite to Kemba Walker. It was beautiful.
Inside Carter for 2. 51-31. Make that 42nd mark.
Getting into a little horn set here. A.J. Price can come off these screens at the top. He can come off either Gavin Edwards. Well, they're going to switch it now.
Shot clock down to 10. Now they'll gear it up. At 7, at 6, A.J. Price with 5, well short. 12 seconds, plenty of time for A&M. Sloan. Carter for 3. And tipped in. As LeBeau in the right spot to get the tap in. And a turnover in inbounding the ball. Yes.
Brian Davis was able to knock that ball off of the foot of a UConn player.
But only 0.4 of a second, so this is a catch shoot for A&M. Don't have time to come back down to the court. They got to catch it, and there it is. And successfully defended by Gavin Edwards. Nicely done by Edwards. That's the end of the opening half with a score 51-33 UConn. Leading scorers Adrian 15 and Carter 7 for A&M. We'll send you to Greg Gumbel with AT&T at the half after these messages. You're watching CBS Sports, the exclusive home of the men's NCAA basketball championship. It's an 18 14-point halftime lead over Texas A&M. CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA basketball tournament will continue after this word from your local station. Seeds from UConn, very impressive in the opening half, 51-33. And here now the in-game box score presented by X-Men Origins Wolverine. LeBeau off the bench, and star Josh Carter with 7 to lead the Aggies, and Jeff Adrian almost perfect from the floor. 7 out of 8 shooting for Adrian to lead the way for the Huskies, with H.A. Price chipping in with 13. Well, we talked the three-point play. You know, if they're going to beat Connecticut or make it close, they're going to have to hit some threes, and their senior star is the man, isn't he?
Well, the offensive end, Josh Carter's got to start hitting some shots. You know, he was 3 of 10 in that first half. He was guarded very well by Stanley Robinson, who's a very athletic and long-armed defender. He had a hard time getting shots off, and when he did, he wasn't making them. On a couple of occasions when he had a little bit of space, he was able to knock down a perimeter shot. But really what they need to do is guard. I mean, in the first round against Tennessee Chattanooga, UConn, the #1 seed, put up 48 points in the first half. A really good offensive performance. 51 points against Texas A&M out of the Big 12. I'm sure that Mark Turgeon was talking about defense. You've got to get stops if you want to have a chance to win this game. 18 is not insurmountable. It is if you trade baskets.
Well, we'll see if there's any life left in the Aggies after the way Jim Calhoun's Huskies treat them in that opening half. And when ahead in the tournament, the Huskies, regular season or not, are very, very difficult to beat. They took out UT Chattanooga 101-47, a 54-point victory. And they lead by 18 as we open the second half. And a quick whistle away from the ball. Sloan, Ilano, Rowland, Carter, and Davis on the court.
Got a foul on Hashim Thabit.
That's his third.
And Ilanu did a nice job of moving him around on that ball screen, then moving low. And he got into a little wrestling match. And Thabit can't do that. Thabit cannot. That's not his game, is to get into a wrestling match down low.
Pass inside to Davis. Davis and Ilanu now will have the size advantage inside for the Aggies.
Getting Hashim Thabit out of the game is a big deal for Texas A&M. Now they can attack the rim without fear.
Robinson to Adrian. Mr. Automatic, if you please. 8 for 9 for Jeff Adrian.
And all from that spot, seemingly. I know he had a dunk in the ball game, but he has hit a lot of free throw line jumpers.
Oh, Davis to Ilano, and he can't knock it down. Misses the dunk shot.
A nice dive off the post pass, but you got to finish those plays, Thabit or not.
Price with a runner. Edwards rebounds. He's in there for Thabit.
Took an extra step and got away with it.
Broad-shouldered Jeff Adrian looking for a double-double again. Greg Austrie. Sloan hawking him defensively. Down to 10 on the shot clock. Connecticut can be patient with this big lead. Adrian well off the mark, and that's a shot clock violation. With all those perfect jumpers from Adrian, to be that far off the mark on a hurried shot, quite a contrast.
Well, they've got a hand up this time. And he had to take a hurried shot. When he's been shooting in rhythm, he's been making everything from that spot. That was the best defensive possession of the game for Texas A&M.
Cutter, Sloan to Davis, and Davis from the side hits. Brian Davis, the junior from Dallas, averaging 10.7 on the season.
That's his shot. A little Sigma move along the baseline. That's offensive foul.
And perhaps a little momentum building for the Aggies. The foul on Adrian, his second.
Just lowers that shoulder. I mean, you're going to get a charge every time when you do this. And that's a clear offensive foul. And Brian Davis just held his ground. And then as soon as he felt the contact, he kind of gave the dive backward, which is what smart big guys do.
You mean there's some that aren't smart?
Can you believe that? Can you believe that some big guys are not considered smart? Talk about discrimination. All these little guys
Thinking us big guys aren't that smart.
Really sensitive about that, aren't you, Jim?
I am. Everybody says it's a guards game. It's a lie. That's a lie perpetrated by God.
Delano following the miss from Carter, and look at here, 53-39. The Aggies trying to rally.
And Dick, it's all because Hasheem Thabeet is out of the game. You take that shot blocking presence out of the game, and Jim Calhoun's going to put him back in now.
And there's a checking foul against UConn, and look who's up on his feet. Thabeet, we'll see whether or not he's... No, Calhoun sends him back.
Thabeet got up, walked past Calhoun, and Calhoun says, "Where are you going? Sit down."
Foul on Derek Rowland of the Aggies, his second.
Now, how can a guy 7'3" try to sneak past his coach to get into the game?
There's a check foul on Carter on the baseline, his third.
Next time, if Thabeet wants to go into the game without being called in, he needs to wear like a rubber nose and glasses or something. Go incognito. To
you'd never pick him out of the crowd at 7'3".
Take a look. He gets up. He knows he's needed in the game. Calhoun says, "Where are you going? Get back here." I have to put you in. I missed the first game. I'm still in charge.
There's never been any doubt about that. And Calhoun was a great coaching career, 23 years at Stores at UConn. A.J. Price for three. Oh, did he set that up for himself? Price now with 16. 3 minutes into the second half in Philadelphia, and a whistle away from the ball, and it's Adrian running through a screen. Knocked down B.J. Holmes. That's 3 on him.
Boy, this is not a good development for UConn, but very positive for Texas A&M. Brian Davis and Adrian got into a little shoving match on the low post, and then B.J. Holmes set a little on big cross screen. Adrian just ran him over.
Here's Holmes. Oh, pass right through the hands of Delano. That was a little too much velocity at short range.
Yeah, that short range pass has to be a bounce pass. It'll come up softly to the big guy. You throw a bullet like that, there's no way, unless he's wearing a catcher's mitt, you can expect a guy to catch that.
Kemba Walker in the game now for UConn. Austria and Walker working the backcourt along with A.J. Price. Edwards and Robinson down low. Past Edwards, he misses the slam, but a foul on the play. Davis, his third.
Turn in the corner, draws Gavin Edwards. Edwards got a piece of it, but that was still an awfully hard pass. And off the little pick and roll, draws the defender Ilanu to try to stop the penetration. Nobody slides over
To try to take away the roll by Gavin Edwards. It's the hardest play in basketball to defend.
Edwards hits the free throw. He's been perfect, 5 for 5 today, and 7 points for this lanky junior, averaging 3.5 a game. So he's doubled that against the Aggies.
Had his best game of the season when UConn played Gonzaga.
I know he wasn't that high up on the scouting report. But came into that ball game. I think he had 14 points, 12 rebounds.
Rowland drives the baseline and hits the 10-footer.
Much more aggressive Texas A&M team in the second half.
4 now for Rowland. 15 the lead for Connecticut.
Just need to keep chipping away at this lead.
Rowland, their best defender for Texas A&M. He's on Price. Gets a pick, this Price, and nails it. Edwards with a good screen.
Well, Rowland's got to go over the top of that screen and make him curl to the basket. You can't just let him step off that screen and just hop into a shot. One of the ways you do that is by you got to jump to the ball.
LaBelle inside with a left hand. David LaBelle, good-looking freshman from Miami. He has 9. Price, a no-look pass. Robinson can't hit it, but Battles gets it back and scores.
Outstanding second effort rebounder and a great athlete.
8 points now for Robinson. Sloan, teardrop. one.
It's hard to believe that young man had a near catastrophic knee injury last year in the NCAA tournament in the first round against San Diego, because he is still explosive. Little inside out move, the finish with the left hand. Big time play by A.J. Price.
Advance to the 16th. There's a Carolina youngster rooting from long range here in Philadelphia.
Very interested in whether Ty Lawson will play, and for North Carolina to advance to the Final Four and win the national championship, Lawson has to be at or near 100%. Now, that's a team that is very talented and can really score, but he is their speed. They're not a speedy team without Ty Lawson with the ball in his hands.
You feel they have the most depth of talent, however, as B.J. Holmes slips inside to score.
I felt before the season, thinking that Marcus Ginyard, their senior lockdown defender, that he was going to be back. I thought they were the best team far and away. They're not now. They're still a very good team, and still a team that is a favorite, I think, to win the national championship.
A.J. Price just keeps firing, and nothing but net again. He has 22.
It's a simple little screen for the screener play. Price, even though he's well defended at first, is able to create space with a little step back dribble. If he can get that separation from a really good defender, he sets a screen first, then he gets a little down screen. There was a screen from Gavin Edwards, just a little step back dribble. The nice job by Edwards to set the screen, and he got open. He doesn't need a whole lot of daylight.
Quick trigger and so effective. Edwards picked up the foul on that last whistle. We're at the 14-10 mark here in Philadelphia, second half, with UConn a sizable lead. A long bomb is there for Donald Sloan. Sloan now with 9 points in the game.
Just stepped behind a screen there in the corner and had time to measure it. You got to make a shooter put the ball on the deck, and UConn's defense didn't make Sloan do that. Well, Price is really active looking to score. He's feeling it now and knows.
He sure is. And he draws the foul as he fires into the paint. Well, he's, as you said the other day, it's almost a storyline in college. You could make a motion picture script from A.J. Price. All his difficulties. He had brain bleeding when he was a freshman. He was involved in an incident where he was dismissed from school the next year. Then he rips up his knee, and here he is. He's persevered, this young guy. Wednesday on CBS, speaking of perseverance, Survivor on a special night. Don't miss a new episode. Wednesday on CBS, America's most watched network.
Now, Price comes from basketball bloodlines. His father, Tony, played at Penn, played in the 1979 Final Four.
Yeah, we saw Tony against Pennsylvania, Michigan State, Indiana State in that Final Four. There's Mom. She says, that's my boy right there, my baby. 20-point Connecticut lead. Davis on Edwards. Nice job by Edwards defensively.
Wow, that's your backup.
Adrian. And batted out of bounds. Last touch by Connecticut.
Even with Hashim Thabit on the bench after picking up that third foul. UConn able to keep this lead. Large measure because they've been so efficient scoring. Texas A&M's made a little run of their own offensively, running some better offense, attacking the basket, get some shots to go down, but they haven't been able to stop UConn.
Yeah, 59% shooting in the game for Connecticut. Sloan. Edwards able to bat it off. LeBeau, but it was already out of bounds. So as rolled. No, that's it. No, it's going to Connecticut. Connecticut now inbounds the ball. Connecticut, another goal. They're shooting almost 60% for the game. The #1 seed Connecticut Huskies, and have opened a 70-48 lead over the Texas A&M Aggies. And this is all happening in the second half. with Hashim Thabit sitting on the bench with 3 fouls for UConn. They've just not relinquished the sizable lead that they have enjoyed since halftime when it was 51-33. Jim Calhoun's team jumped out 10-0 at the start, and it's just been the winner of the Iditarod, the Huskies, are out in front and steaming toward the finish line.
Early on in the game, it was Jeff Adrian knocking down that free throw line jumper. Nice cut by Nathan Walkup.
But Adrian was knocking down that free throw line jumper, and then it was A.J. Price. Oh my goodness.
Robinson, he just saw that door open and flew through it and said, "Here are my credentials."
He dunked that ball on the way up.
Ew, left his business card there in the twine. Delano back into the game, playing catch with Harris. Harris unable to connect, and Robinson rebounds. Walker will take it back outside, use a little clock with 11.5 minutes to go here in Philadelphia. This is the West region. Winner advances to Glendale, Arizona to meet either Purdue or Washington in the Sweet 16. Adrian, the left hand. And it's last touched by the Huskies. Timeout, 72-50. And Robinson. Oh, yeah, Robinson in his neighborhood. Coming up, Purdue or Washington. You'll want to stay tuned for that. LSU, North Carolina at 5:45. Plenty of action. And Ty Lawson will play tonight for North Carolina. That word just in. Delano over the beat. Oh, my.
Well, he went right into his chest. That's what you have to do with a shot blocker the caliber of Hashim Thabit.
You give him space, it's a lot easier for him to block a shot with space. You've got to go right into his chest.
And a foul as they double team A.J. Price.
Now watch Delano when he gets the ball. Physical. And when he gets the ball, he goes right into his chest, basically through his chin. And that takes away the space that Hashim Thabit needs to block a shot.
Meanwhile, Junior Delano picks up his 4th foul, and he'll go out as Brian Davis back in. Listen to these numbers for UConn. No wonder they're the #1 seed. 60% field goal percentage, 63% from 3 range, and 90% at the free throw line. Now that is an efficient offense.
Incredible.
Ticking down toward the midpoint of this second 20-minute period.
He rode him all the way out to the half-court line.
The Aggie ride by Walkup, his 2nd foul.
Most times you need a saddle to ride a guy like that. You want to try to stretch him out so he can't turn the corner, but you certainly don't want to foul. And when you do, you're putting UConn on the free throw line to really hammer you.
A.J. Price, a 72% shooter on the season, 4 for 5 today. And that's his 25th point. His career high with 36. He had 20 on Thursday night in the win over Chattanooga. Back comes Jeff Adrian.
A.J. Price has really been playing well over his last 6 games coming into this one, averaging over 20 points per game during that stretch. At 36 in a game earlier this year against Marquette. When he gets in a hot streak like he is now, he can really light it up.
This free throw, but Edwards gives Connecticut a chance to go for more. Price. It's a pretty maneuver to get inside, and finally rebound pulled down by Walkup. Walkup to Davis. Nice pass.
Nice pass and a nice grab. Anytime there's dribble penetration, even from another big guy, the opposite big always has to have his hands ready. And Brian Davis had his hands ready and made a very difficult catch.
That's the first Aggie in double figures, 10 points for Davis.
The Big East really flexing its muscles in this building. First Villanova pounding UCLA, and now UConn doing the same thing, but in a different way to Texas A&M.
Freshman Kemba Walker has 7. And the foul at the other end, I believe, was on Edwards. Mesquite High School in Gilbert, Arizona. The son of a former NFL football star. Third on him. And it's Arizona that the Sweet 16 winner today will be flying for the Thursday night action in Purdue or Washington, the opponent. We'll see that game coming up. Yeah, Jim Calhoun out of the hospital yesterday after an overnight stay, was not on the bench for the Thursday victory against Chattanooga, and not a lot of strain on the head man today, the way his team has performed.
UConn very fortunate when Calhoun missed that first-round game against Chattanooga. They have an assistant coach, the caliber of George Blaney, who spent a lot of years as a head coach.
30
at Holy Cross, yeah, at Holy Cross, and also at Seton Hall.
The beat, and then the tap in from Adrian. 19 for Jeff Adrian. And Davis inside. He has 12 to lead the Aggies.
See, Thabit just got beat down the floor. You know, he missed that little left-handed
Jump hook, and Brian Davis just outran him. And I know that UConn has got a huge lead here, but you still have to run down the floor and do your job. He didn't do his job.
Doesn't matter what the scoreboard is. Coaches look at those sort of things and they won't forget.
You know, a coach like Jim Calhoun will tell his team, you know what, there's no such thing as garbage time for UConn. If you're in the game, you're expected to play hard and play the right way, and that's more of what Jim Calhoun expects.
The beat, who as a sophomore had 147 blocks. He came into this game with 144 and has 2 today. The premier shot blocker here in the East. In Connecticut for 8 straight years, they've had a block party. They've led the nation in blocks per game. Mississippi State had a larger total of blocks this year, but blocks per game, it went to Connecticut again.
Take a look at Hashim Thabit right here. Brian Davis behind him, and he beats him down the floor. I mean, Thabit just jogging, lets Davis get in front of him, cuts across his face, and he's able to score. But after getting a little bit of an earful from Jim Calhoun, this time a little bit more aggressive, and that's a pretty darn good block with your offhand, to be able to block a shot with your left hand. And
one thing he's doing a good job of, Dick, when he blocks shots, he keeps it in play instead of just throwing it out of bounds where, you know, the offensive team keeps the ball. He keeps the ball in play and gives his teammates a chance to grab it.
I guess the great Bill Russell from University of San Francisco and the Celtics was the first who really captured that technique of block and keep it in play for your teammate, and off they go. Adrian misses both. He has 21 on the day.
Would you say Bill Russell was one of the most cerebral players at any position, I think, in the game of basketball?
They played at the University of San Francisco, won 2 national championships in the mid-50s with K.C. Jones. But I'm not sure that there's been a player in any position that has fought the game any better than Bill Russell.
Holmes misses on the drive. Thabit embraces the rebound. Who was the smartest player that you either coach or played with at Duke?
The smartest player I played with was Tommy Amaker, now the head coach at Harvard. He knew about opposing players before he ever had to get a scouting report. Had great eye for the game.
There's Adrian in his spot, but able to connect on that jumper. Sloan the other way for the Aggies.
Sloan usually very good coming off ball screens. Nice thing.
Holmes unable to hit the 3. He's been one of their top 3-point shooters, over 40% on the year.
UConn contend, if they don't have anything in transition, to come down and use some clock.
Less than 7 minutes to go. And from the side, sweet touch from Robinson. Stanley Robinson with a dozen.
If he adds that to his game, forget it. And that's the only thing he's really missing. I think coming into this game from 3 was something like 3 for 18 or 3 for 19. But if he adds that little mid-range shot, 15-footer, he's got everything else you want in a player. Great athleticism. He can run.
His rise, as we have seen, there are few players in the game that can get off the floor like he can. And he's starting to really come into his own as a productive player on the floor.
24-point lead for UConn. One wonders when Coach Calhoun will allow his bench to get a little more activity here in the tournament.
The three-point shot now, I think coaches are reluctant to pull the plug on their starters early. Plus, they want them to get a good run.
Price off on his three-point attempts. Sloans. And he's held off by A.J. Price. Foul on Price with 5:52 to go here in Philadelphia. Yeah, the blue and white of the University of Connecticut. And the black and blue from A&M. 58% for the game. And led by A.J. Price with 25 and 7 assists. Brian Davis, the only Aggie in double figures with a dozen and 9 boards. So a rebound away from a double-double for the junior Brian Davis. At the line, Donald Sloan for Texas A&M, 81-57 UConn.
What's especially impressive about the way UConn has played on the offensive end. They've got 29 made field goals, 19 assists on those 29 field goals. That is sharing the ball and moving the ball. They've done a very good job and have been very efficient on the offensive end.
Donald Sloan now in double figures. That was his 10th point.
You always think sometimes that what could have been. And even though UConn is a very serious threat to win the national championship, you look out on the floor and you wonder what this team would be like. How much more powerful would they be with Jerome Dyson in the lineup? Same thing for Marquette and Dominic James.
Yes.
They're a totally different team without James.
And Marquette will be battling Missouri for a spot in the Sweet 16 later here on CBS.
You know, with James in the lineup, you'd feel really comfortable about Marquette's ability to break that pressure and score. And a yawner for Jerome Dyson.
A.J. Price committing that last foul, his third. As Jim Calhoun sends Adrian back into the lineup, along with Kemba Walker.
This young man on the free throw line, David LeBeau, has a really nice future ahead of him.
Very skilled player.
Doesn't play like a freshman, does he?
He does not. He's got a nice demeanor about him as he plays. He's going to get stronger as he gets older and gets into the weight room, and he can face up to shoot a 17 or 18 foot range. He can drive a little bit. He's got a nice future ahead of him in the Big 12.
9 points for LeBeau, although he misses the front end of a 1-and-1 there.
In a game like this, you often get the question, why doesn't Jim Calhoun take his starters out, or the coach that's ahead by a large margin? It's interesting. I've always kind of thought, I'll wave the white flag as soon as the other guy takes his starters out. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. There's LeBeau running the floor well to earn his 11th point. And a timeout called at the 5:13 mark. Jim Calhoun's Huskies by 21. Trip to Glendale, Arizona in the Sweet 16 here in the West region.
And Jim Calhoun doesn't mind at all his team going out west. The Huskies have always performed very well when they've been shifted to the left coast.
99, they were in the West, won the national title, and again in 2004. They were in the West region and national champs.
Sometimes when you get an East Coast team shipped out west, you get away from some of the distractions. You're not even worried about as many tickets or friends coming to the hotel or things like that. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to play that far away from home.
Sloan's pass right into the arms of Thabit.
Kemba Walker, a young man with the ball in his hands, just a freshman, incredibly fast. UConn's been working with him on playing more in straight lines. Instead of taking an angled drive to the basket, take a straight line drive. Use your speed.
Straight line meaning coming from the center of the floor, or just a
straight line to the destination, wherever he's going. Instead of angling out, take a straight line to where you're trying to get. That's what most teams, most defenses are trying to prevent, a straight line drive. And they felt like he played at too many sort of angles instead of playing in straight lines. And with his speed, the shortest distance between 2 points, a straight line, and he can get there faster than most.
Good hustle on the offensive boards by Craig Austrie to give UConn another chance here after a missed shot, and there's a foul on Donald Sloan. We've got 3:39 to go in Philadelphia. UConn well in command. 25 points, 5 for 7 from the floor, has 7 assists and 5 rebounds. This senior from Amityville, New York, Long Island. The NCAA answer to our CBS Survivor show is Price, and what a senior season, 14 points plus, the floor leader, the best outside shooter, and he has been the man in control today.
Early on in the day, Dick, you talked about the sense of urgency of a senior, and A.J. Price has that sense of urgency. You know, until Thursday's game against Chattanooga, very few of these players, only the players that played on the 2016 that made it all the way to the Elite Eight before losing to George Mason, they were the only players on the team that had been part of a win in the postseason, whether it was the Big East tournament or the NCAA tournament.
The beat with his third block. Well, Connecticut does indeed have something that no one of the prospective Sweet 16 teams will produce, and that is to have a man that's 7'3", that's such a powerful shot blocker and defender.
A nice luxury to have.
Adrian, he has complemented the big scoring game from A.J. Price with 23 of his own.
I think Thabit is doing a much better job of that was a bad foul there, but what he's doing, he's moving his feet better this year, and he's also waiting till the shooter leaves the floor before he leaves the floor, so he's not getting shot faked off the ground. And Adrian, that's just a strong move, scoring over his left shoulder with that little jump hook. You can't let him get that position deep into the post on the low block, or you're just going to stand and watch him score.
For the moment, the beat stays in after committing his 4th foul. And Donald Sloan looks for his 11th point. Sloan, a junior, he'll be back for the Aggies next year. Brian Davis back in along with Nathan Walkup for the Aggies. The beat probably through for the late afternoon. 6 points, 4 rebounds, actually the 3rd block according to our statistics. That was the last one. Doesn't tell the story. His very presence changes the whole mental set of the opposition when they come near the paint.
Certainly in the first half, when UConn got off to such a great start, they were so efficient offensively, and early on Texas A&M couldn't get anything on their offensive end, and Thabit was a big part of that. And it just shows you he's got to stay on the floor for UConn to be a national champion. There's no way that he can be in foul trouble against the really good teams that they're going to face if they continue to advance.
Price inside to Edwards. Nice setup, and Edwards delivers. He's got 10 points off the bench. Matching up against UConn, Washington or Purdue, who would be a tougher opponent, do you think?
You know, Washington is much better defensively this year. I'm not sure that inside they've got the firepower to score over UConn's size. You know, I think with the motion offense that they run, Purdue can spread them out a little bit. You know, I don't think either team, and if UConn plays this way offensively, you know, neither team would be favored against them. I mean, UConn's just a better team.
Jeff Adrian gets a standing O from the fans behind the Connecticut bench as he leads with 23, and we see for the first time rarely used Jonathan Mandeldove, a 7-footer from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Robinson out, as well as Jim Calhoun now giving his bench a chance to see some duty.
Jonathan Mandeldove is really popular with his teammates and with his coaches. Works hard every day in practice, but with this team, it's just not a team he's going to log a lot of minutes on. And the coaching staff talked to him saying, Jonathan, we don't think you're going to play very much here. And talked to him, it would not be a bad thing. We would not look ill upon it if you decided to transfer somewhere to play more minutes. And he said, no, I want to stay here. I want to be a part of this team.
Yeah, that's really a rare attitude, isn't it? Kemba Walker will go to the line as we salute our Chevrolet players of the game today. Brian Davis with 12 points and 9 boards for the Aggies. He'll be back to play again in his senior year next season. And A.J. Price, 27, 50% from the floor on 16 attempts to lead the way for Connecticut.
Well, just about this entire Texas A&M roster returns with the exception of Josh Carter, who's had a magnificent career for A&M.
Out comes A.J. Price to an ovation. Good job, she says, and you're absolutely right, Mom. 27 points and 8 assists for A.J. Price. He did not make first team All Big East.
Shows you how strong that league was. I mean, 16 teams, only 5 spots on first team All Big East. They used to have 10. They cut it down to 5.
B.J. Holmes maneuvering and picks up the foul. There goes Donnell Beverly, a sophomore from Hawthorne, California, seeing his first duty.
B.J. Holmes is a nice player. I've really enjoyed watching him play over the course of the year. He's on the Big 12 All-Reserve team, coming off the bench. He's a very good three-point shooter.
Holmes has shot almost 43% from outside the line. Edwards and Manteldove go out along with Walker, and the fellas that are the walk-ons and do all the hard work, grunt work and practice, and you can't salute them enough. They're such an integral part of a team's success, and it's nice when they get a chance to come aboard. Jim Veronic, John Linder, Kyle Bailey.
Usually the guys that run the scout team. Scotty Harrelson, a big-time shooter that I think is going to play a lot more minutes next year for Mississippi.
Donnell Beverly with a basket with 57 seconds to go. And back the other way, a basket for Dash Harris, the freshman for A&M.
What a great name, Dash Harris.
He's got to play guard.
You better be quick if you're called Dash.
As we come to an end, our doubleheader here in Philadelphia today. Impressive wins, Villanova and Connecticut to advance to the Sweet 16. Stay with CBS. So much more to go here on this Saturday. And the basket is chaired by Jim Veronic, the 6'8" senior from Durham, Connecticut. Rebound, Johnny Bird. Another senior, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and the final seconds tick away. And the University of Connecticut as impressive in victory over Texas A&M as Villanova was in dismissing UCLA by 20 in the earlier game today. Villanova going to the East in Boston, and Jim Calhoun, who's from the Boston area, on his way to the Phoenix area, the West, and a Sweet 16 spot for the happy Huskies of the University of Connecticut. A 92-66 impressive win over A&M today. We'll be right back after these words from your local station.